honestly, if Kyle Tucker didn't text me, like I've known Kyle since before I signed with Houston. Kyle was a big reason I came to Houston because right off the bat, like I called him and like I called him right after they like Click called me, and I was like, "Hey man, like what do you got?" And he goes, "Well, dude, we're nasty." So there's that, and he's like, "We're gonna be good for a while. Like they treat us well. Like Houston's tight. Like basically kind of gave me the rundown of the entire organization. Like he gave me a rundown from travel to the spring training complex to like everything that you could think of, like training staff, everybody. And he gave me a full rundown.
And Sam touched on like family life and wife life.
Yeah, and his fiance now talked to my and was like, "Hey, this is how they treat the family. This is how they do this." And like, okay, cool. And we had those conversations with people around the league that had been in on other teams that we had been talking to, and like those things matter. And obviously, like performance of the team and like the history of like Houston helping dudes like succeed like pitching wise was attractive as well. So it was a lot of things that went into it, and like you try to make the most educated decision possible, like best for your family, best for your career, and then obviously financially, like that matters too. But like I said, like the money tends to be relatively similar.
So with all that being said, everything that you just took us through, and I'm not asking specifics on teams for you, but how has this free agency period been for you so far?
It's been interesting. It's definitely moving, but it's been slow because everybody was waiting on Otani, and everybody's been kind of waiting on Yamamoto too, and like relievers tend to be, I'm not gonna say less important, but also like they're also like looked at a little bit later because the money's not as big. So they want to. I think most teams address their big holes and their big money decisions first, and then they like kind of prioritize their next in line. And so I think so far, like we've had a lot of interest, and it's a lot of situations where teams are prioritizing starting pitching first. So they're like, okay, well we're gonna try to like deal with some starting pitching, and also kind of like make sure you're still good. So it's definitely a different process. I think the first time I went through it was a little different because the dollar figure was substantially smaller. I mean, because I think like I signed for at that point, yeah, like $1 million. So like it was like, just slightly above minimum. So like it was no like at that point for no team in the league is that too much. So then you got to look at like teams that are going to compete, teams that are not trying to compete, or like not trying to compete like this year. You know what I mean? Like so it's definitely different to see how um, teams view themselves and view what they're trying to do, and also view you in certain roles. Joey, stop pulling mom's hair, girly. She's sitting there just like yanking on it. Not good. But yeah, it's a lot of it. A lot of it is interesting to see how teams operate in a different space because obviously the money's a little bit different. So like it might push some teams out. It might like I don't know. It's interesting.